This is 103.2 FM, still alive in the dark, still carrying a voice across whatever airwaves remain. My name is Charlie Benson, and I don't know how many of you can actually hear me tonight. The studio windows are black, not from nightfall, but from the power loss that turned the city into a shadow. The generator is humming just enough to keep this microphone alive, and I've got maybe 2 cans of fuel left before the sound dies for good. It's cold inside here, colder than it should be in late August. Maybe that's just the silence making it feel worse. I've lived in Chicago my whole life, and I don't think I've ever heard it this quiet. Not even at 3 in the morning when the streets usually still hold a little life. Now it's just nothing. No engines, no hum of neon, no air conditioners rattling in windows. Just nothing. Pretend you've just connected to this frequency. What do you tell the world in 15 seconds? What's the last thing you saw? Smoke? Silence? Soldiers? Comment your report like we're logging every broadcast. For those who still haven't pieced it together, the rumors are true. There's been an EMP strike over the Midwest. I can't tell you if it was a weapon or an accident in the upper atmosphere, but the effect is the same. Every unshielded circuit in the blast range is fried. Radios, computers, phones, cars. Everything that made modern life tick just went still in the blink of an eye. I saw it happen. 1 second, the traffic outside was bumper to bumper, horns blaring, and the next, it was like someone hit a cosmic switch. Engines stalled, brake lights died, horns froze mid-blast, and people stumbled out into the street as if they could make sense of what had just swallowed their world. You don't forget the sound of thousands of machines shutting down at once. It wasn't really silence. It was like the breath was sucked out of the city, leaving us stranded in an unfamiliar place that looked like home but felt nothing like it. I've been trying to piece together what's left. Shortwave crackles faintly if you spin the dial long enough, but the strong, steady signals are gone. I caught a burst from what might have been St. Louis, just a man's voice repeating, "EMP confirmed, grid down, communications lost." It lasted about 20 seconds before the signal collapsed into static. I've tried to reach east, tried to reach west, but it's like someone dropped a curtain of noise over the whole Midwest. I don't know if the coasts are still alive out there or if they've gone dark too. The government? If they're broadcasting, I can't hear them. Maybe their equipment's shielded. Maybe it isn't. Either way, they're not talking to us. I can see the fires from here. Pockets of orange light where people tried to keep warm or cook, and then bigger ones where cars collided in the first minutes after the blackout. The south side looks worse. Too many cars jammed under the overpasses when the lights cut. Nowhere for them to go. I heard screaming echo down the streets earlier, a wave of voices that started together and then broke apart until only a few lingered. People are starting to realize this isn't just another power outage. This isn't like the storms that knock out a neighborhood for a day or two. This is different. The phones are gone. The hospitals are running on what little backup they've got, and nothing new is coming in. Refrigeration's already gone in half the city. Meat and milk won't last the week. Medicine that needs to stay cold is going to spoil, if it hasn't already. I've got a friend who used to work defense contracts, spent half his life looking at scenarios like this in dusty binders no one ever thought would matter. He told me once that an EMP over the Midwest would hit harder than one over either coast. Why? Because this is where the power grid is tied together. This is where the crops are. This is where the rails converge. Knock this out, and you don't just wound the heart of the country, you sever the veins that feed it. I keep hearing his voice in my head tonight, his warning turned into prophecy. I'm running on fumes and adrenaline, But I'll keep talking as long as I can. If you're hearing me, know this. We're on our own. There are no sirens in the distance, no official voices cutting through the air, no order being restored. Just us, here, trying to hold on. If you're near water, guard it. If you have food, hide it. If you know someone who can fix old machines without a chip, stay close to them. The ones with the old trucks, the old tools, those people just became the most important among us. I'll keep this signal alive for as long as the generator holds. If you can hear me, you're not alone, not yet. This is Charlie Benson on 103.2 FM. I'll stay with you until the dark takes me too. This is Charlie Benson again, still here on 103.2 FM. I don't know what time it is anymore. The clock on the wall stopped when the power went, and my phone's just a dead slab of glass. I can only guess by the color of the sky outside the studio window, a pale gray bleeding into black. The sun went down hours ago, and now the city looks like a hollowed-out shell. The high-rises that used to glow like beacons are nothing but black teeth in the skyline. The only light left comes from candles in apartment windows, from campfires in alleys, from the few people stubborn enough or scared enough to try to keep the dark at bay. The first wave of panic hit hard. I saw it earlier today when I made the mistake of stepping outside for air. People were clawing through gas stations, prying open pumps with crowbars, cursing when nothing flowed. Someone shot off a round a few blocks away, maybe to scare off a crowd, maybe to take what they needed. I didn't stay long enough to find out. There's no order anymore, no sirens, no patrols. Just people realizing the rules broke at the same time the lights did. Some are banding together, helping one another carry water buckets from the river. Others are already turning ugly, staking claims on blocks with spray paint and guns. The city's turning tribal hour by hour. The radio bands are dry. I keep scanning, hoping to hear something stable, something from the outside world, but all I catch are fractured voices, little bursts of sound caught between walls of static. One man said he was calling from Peoria before his words dissolved into nothing. He kept repeating, "Hospital dark, babies dying," before the signal broke. I don't know if he was real, if his transmitter just gave out, or if he's gone now. Another burst came from somewhere south, sounded like Missouri, but I couldn't be sure. He said the military bases there had gone silent, that the planes on the tarmac are just dead metal now. He said they tried to start one of the C-130S by hand, cranking the auxiliary system, and still got nothing. If that's true, then it's not just us. The military's machines are crippled too. I keep thinking back to the moment it hit. It wasn't just the machines. It was people too. The way they froze. The way they looked around like kids who suddenly lost their parents in a crowd. Nobody knew what had happened, but everyone knew it was bad. That fear hasn't lifted. It's thicker now, mixed with exhaustion and hunger. My neighbor upstairs, an old man who's lived alone since his wife passed, came down earlier with a small bundle of candles and matches. He pushed them into my hands without a word, just gave me this hollow look like he knew he wouldn't be needing them. When I asked why, he just muttered something about his heart medication being useless without refrigeration. I didn't know what to say. I still don't. I've been thinking about the hospitals, what's happening inside them right now, the respirators failing, the lights going dark in operating rooms, nurses fanning patients by hand, trying to keep them breathing just a little longer. It makes me sick to imagine, but I know it's real. I know it's happening in every city touched by this. And when the generators run dry, when the fuel runs out, It'll get worse. That's the kind of silence we'll feel next. The silence of places that once fought to keep people alive going still. Somewhere out there, I imagine, there are men in bunkers with clipboards, trying to figure out who did this. Was it foreign hands? Was it our own tests gone wrong? Or was it something higher in the sky, a solar flare we didn't see coming? People deserve answers, but I don't think they're going to get them. Not tonight, maybe not ever. The government's quiet, and when the ones with the loudest megaphones go silent, you know the rest of us are left to figure it out on our own. For those of you who can hear me, I'll keep saying it. Protect water first. Without it, nothing else matters. If you're near Lake Michigan, guard your buckets like gold. If you've got wells, guard them too. Food will run dry in days, but water goes faster than that when the taps stop. I've heard stories of people already fighting over bottles in corner stores, smashing each other's heads for a sip. Don't put yourself in that crowd. Find your own and defend it. I'll stay here as long as the generator holds, burning what little fuel I have left. After that, I don't know. But for now, I'm still with you. Still speaking into the dark. This is Charlie Benson on 103.2 FM, clinging to the last thin thread of connection we've got. If you can hear me, hold on. Don't let go yet. This is Charlie Benson on 103.2 FM. The fuel gauge on the generator is sliding lower, and I can hear the motor coughing every now and then, like it's as tired as I am. The air in here feels heavy with exhaust and dust, and the silence outside presses harder against the glass with each hour that passes. The city is different now. I look out the window and see shapes moving through the streets. Not cars anymore, but people walking in groups, carrying what they can on their backs, dragging carts that once belonged to grocery stores. There are no headlights, no street lamps, just the glow of torches and burning piles of wood. The skyline doesn't belong to us anymore. It looks like some ancient place, like we've fallen backward 100 years in the span of a day. Earlier, I took a short walk down to the edge of the block. I shouldn't have, but I needed to feel the air, needed to see if the city was breathing at all. What I saw was worse than I expected. Lines of people stretched down the street outside one of the only corner shops still trying to ration out what it had. But when the owner shut the doors and said there was nothing left, the line exploded. People shoved, fists flew, glass broke, and in the scramble, I heard one shot. Just one, but it was enough to scatter the crowd and leave 2 men bleeding on the ground. No one stayed to help. Everyone ran with their scraps, clutching them like they were gold. I turned and walked away as fast as I could, because I knew if I stayed, I'd get pulled into it too. That's how fast the city is unraveling. I caught a weak burst of transmission earlier, maybe from Indianapolis. A man's voice, hoarse and frantic, talking about the interstate jammed with dead cars and thousands of people walking the shoulder in both directions, carrying kids on their backs and pushing strollers filled with whatever food they could find. He said the National Guard tried to set up a checkpoint on I-70, but their trucks didn't move either. And when the soldiers ran out of orders and gas, they just disappeared into the crowd. He repeated over and over that the hospitals were gone. I don't know if he meant abandoned or overwhelmed. Maybe both. The signal fell to static before I could catch more. The city feels like it's shrinking, like the walls are closing in. With every hour that passes, more people realize that no help is coming. No power trucks, no FEMA vans, no news broadcasts telling us what to do. It's just us and the dark. My stomach growls, and I keep thinking about the food I have here in the station. A a few packs of crackers from the vending machine, a half-empty jug of water I pulled from the break room. That's it. And I know when it runs out, I'll have to face the same choice everyone else is facing. Do I risk the streets, or do I stay here and starve in silence? I think about my father, who used to tell me stories about the blackout of 1977 in New York. He said the city went mad in a single night, looting and fires everywhere, and that was just one night without power. He told me once that the only reason people held on then was because they knew it was temporary, because the city would come back. But now, there's no coming back from this. This isn't a storm knocking down wires. This isn't a blown transformer. This is the heart of every circuit torn out at once. And if my friend was right, that the Midwest grid was the spine of the country, then the ripple of this is going to keep spreading until nothing is left standing. I can't shake the thought of planes, all those in the sky when it hit. I didn't see any fall from here, but I've heard whispers. A woman who came running past the station earlier screamed about a jet slamming into the western suburbs, leaving nothing but fire and twisted metal. Maybe it was real. Maybe it was just fear spilling out of her. But it felt true. It felt like the kind of thing that would happen when the whole sky goes dead in an instant. If you're listening, I need you to hold on to something. Whatever you've got that makes you human. A photograph, a song stuck in your head, a memory of someone you love. Don't lose that. Because right now, that's what they can't take away. Not even with the lights out. Not even with the world tilting back into the dark. You are still here. I am still here. And as long as this voice reaches you, you are not alone. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM. Still burning fuel, still burning words. Stay alive out there. Don't give up yet. This is Charlie Benson on 103.2 FM, still holding on by a thread. I can't tell if it's dawn yet or just the glow of fires on the horizon, because the sky outside the studio is a dull orange haze that doesn't change. I think parts of the south side are still burning from the riots last night. Every once in a while the wind shifts, and the smell comes right through the cracks in the window seals. Burnt plastic, scorched rubber, things that aren't meant to be in the air. It clings to the back of my throat like tar, and no amount of water washes it away. The streets sound different today. Yesterday there were shouts, horns, crashes of glass breaking. Now it's quieter, but not the kind of quiet that means peace. It's the quiet of exhaustion. People used up all their rage, all their panic, and now they're just dragging themselves around like shadows. I saw a man pulling a wagon with 2 kids in it, both of them wrapped in blankets, staring at the ground as he moved down the block. He wasn't yelling, wasn't asking for help. He just kept walking, one foot in front of the other, as if stopping would kill him. That's what the city looks like now. A slow march of people trying to find something that isn't broken. I finally heard a stronger signal earlier, maybe military. It cut in on a low frequency I almost missed. A mechanical voice repeating the same phrase. EMP confirmed. Shelter in place. Await further instructions. Over and over, with no variation, no human voice behind it. That's the best we've got for guidance. Sit down in the dark and wait for someone who isn't talking to tell us what comes next. I can't stop thinking about the food chain. Every restaurant is already spoiled, every freezer rotting in place. The trucks that carry produce never made it to the docks. Gas pumps are dead, so there's no way to move supplies even if they existed. The shelves will be stripped clean by tonight, and after that, People are going to look at their neighbors' cupboards. The city's going to eat itself before the week is out. I walked past a Walgreens on the corner earlier, its front ripped open like a wound. The shelves were bare except for toothpaste and birthday cards. No water, no medicine, not even aspirin left. People know what matters. I think about the hospitals constantly. If you're hearing me and you have insulin, blood pressure meds, antibiotics, guard them with your life. They're worth more than gold now. I heard a woman sobbing outside the station doors earlier, begging anyone for insulin for her son. She said the pharmacy had been emptied, and the hospital generator sputtered out last night. She was still clutching his prescription slip, as if that piece of paper still had power. I didn't know what to say to her. I didn't have what she needed. I don't think anyone in this city does anymore. I wonder what's happening beyond the Midwest. Did the coasts take the hit too? Are the lights out in New York? In Los Angeles? Or are they still glowing, watching this part of the country fall like a stone in the dark? I don't know what's worse. Thinking we're all in this together, or thinking we've been cut loose while the rest of the world watches us collapse. If you can hear me, I'll tell you what little I know. Canned food will last. Anything dry, rice, beans, flour, guard it. Water is everything. If you've got bleach, use a few drops in a gallon to purify. If you've got fire, boil what you can. Don't trust any broadcast unless it repeats the same way more than once. The air is full of half-truths and broken signals, and you don't know which ones are traps. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM. My voice is still here, even if the city is fading. Keep your heads down, keep your people close, and don't lose hope just yet. If you're hearing me, it means the world isn't gone completely. Not yet. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM. The generator's running weaker, but I've coaxed a little more life out of it by shutting down everything except the mic and the transmitter. The rest of the building is dark, colder than it should be, and I can see my breath when I exhale. It feels like the city itself is losing warmth, like the pulse that used to run through these streets is fading out. I've been sitting here listening to the static for hours, spinning the dial, trying to catch something that sounds like order, but all I get are little bursts of voices before they're swallowed again. One man shouted, "Des Moines is gone," and then silence. Another faint voice kept saying, train stopped," like he was stuck somewhere along the rails when everything died. The only clear thing I've heard all day is that loop from before. EMP confirmed. Shelter in place. Await further instructions. It's the kind of message that feels less like comfort and more like an admission. They don't know what to tell us, so they tell us nothing. The city is cracking in strange ways. This afternoon, I saw a convoy of people pushing shopping carts tied together with rope, moving down Michigan Avenue like a caravan. They'd scavenged blankets, propane tanks, boxes of cereal, whatever they could grab. They looked organized, too organized. They had a man in front carrying a piece of rebar like a staff, barking at anyone who got too close. It hit me then. This is what power looks like now. Whoever can control a street with numbers and intimidation owns it. I stayed hidden behind the studio door until they passed. There are rumors already. Word of mouth moves faster than any broken signal. People are saying it wasn't just one EMP, that there were 2, maybe 3, stretched across the country. Some whisper that it wasn't a weapon at all, but the sun itself throwing out a storm that fried everything at once. Nobody really knows, but the fact that everyone's guessing tells me one thing. The government either can't speak or won't. And silence is worse than bad news. I can't shake the memory of the moment the world blinked out. I was walking past the station's lobby when the lights went first. Flicker, then gone. I turned to the street, and every car just stopped. It was eerie, the way they froze mid-motion, like a child had set a line of toy cars and then abandoned them. A city full of machines that suddenly forgot how to live. People shouted, some ran, some just stood there. And in the space of seconds, Chicago wasn't a city anymore. It was just a shell. I think about the food trucks, the semis that run the highways every day, carrying everything from bread to fuel. All of them dead on the roadside now, their loads trapped in trailers no one can pull. Even if someone could, the gas pumps are silent. The veins of this country dried up in one heartbeat. People haven't realized how bad that is yet. In a few more days, when the shelves are bare and the cans are gone, the hunger will turn sharp. And that's when the real collapse begins. I've been drinking the same jug of water slowly, rationing sips like it's whiskey. It's running low, and I know I'll have to go out soon, down to the lake maybe, with a bucket. But the thought of carrying water through streets where people are already fighting for scraps makes my stomach turn. My father once told me, civilization is only 3 meals deep. Take away those 3 meals, and you find out what people really are. I think we're about to find out. If you can hear me, remember this. Boil your water, hide your food, stay close to the people you trust, and don't trust the rest. If you've got anything mechanical from before the digital age, guard it with your life. Old trucks, old radios, anything without a circuit. They're worth more than any stack of money now. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM, holding on in the ruins of Chicago. The dark hasn't swallowed me yet, and if you're hearing this, it hasn't swallowed you either. Stay alive. Hold on. We're still here. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM. I think it's night again, though it's hard to measure time when every hour feels the same. The only clock I trust now is the rhythm of the generator choking and catching, reminding me that each broadcast might be the last before the fuel runs dry. The air in the studio is sharp with the smell of burnt wires, a reminder of the first surge that cooked half the equipment before I could shut it down. My hands are still stained black from trying to salvage what little was left. The city outside has turned into something unrecognizable. No cars move, but the roads are jammed with their skeletons, headlights dark, doors hanging open like broken jaws. People have started using bicycles and carts, scavenged from garages to move supplies. I saw a man pulling an old garden wagon with a woman slumped inside, her leg wrapped in bloodied sheets. He didn't stop when people called out. He just kept moving, eyes locked straight ahead, as though slowing down might kill them both. The sound of his wagon wheels grinding against the asphalt was louder than the silence of the city. There are stories going around, whispered in alleys and stairwells. One man swore he saw a military convoy heading south last night. Trucks that somehow still ran, their engines cutting through the dark like thunder. He said they weren't stopping for civilians, just rolling past, armored and sealed, leaving the rest of us to claw at the scraps. Another voice I caught on the shortwave said the president had been moved underground, that Washington still had power, that the coasts were lit up while the heartland bled. I don't know if it's true, but it wouldn't surprise me. History's cruel like that. The people in the middle always take the worst of it first. I've been thinking about the hospitals again. The ones I can see are dark, their windows black holes in the skyline. What's happening inside them keeps me awake. Dialysis machines gone. Babies in incubators left with nothing but blankets and prayer. Surgeons forced to cut by candlelight, their gloves sticky with blood while shadows lean over the table. Those buildings used to be where hope lived. Now they're mausoleums, filling up one floor at a time. Food is vanishing quicker than even I imagined. The shelves are stripped bare, and the vending machines in this building were cracked open the first night. People are already boiling rice in tin cans over open flames, trading cigarettes for cans of beans, guarding crackers like treasure. I overheard two men fighting in the street over a loaf of bread, and by the time one of them limped away, the loaf was gone, torn apart in the dirt. I don't think hunger has even begun to show its true teeth yet, but when it does, it'll be merciless. I keep asking myself what's next. Will the government drop food from the sky? Will they march soldiers through the streets with crates of supplies? Or have we already been abandoned? If this strike was intentional, then whoever pulled the trigger knew exactly what would happen. That the Midwest would choke first, and the rest of the country would starve slowly after. If it was the sun, then maybe no one's in control at all, and that's even worse. To anyone listening, keep your ears sharp. Don't trust every voice on the radio. The air is full of broken transmissions, and some of them sound too neat, too calm, like bait. The one I caught earlier kept repeating an evacuation point downtown, but when I walked to the edge of the block, the skyline there was burning. No convoys, no aid stations, just fire. If there's a trap, it'll be wrapped in a promise. Don't fall for it. This is Charlie Benson on 103.2 FM, still speaking into the dark. The machines may be dead, but our voices aren't yet. If you can hear me, don't give up. Find water, guard food, stay hidden, and remember, you're not the only one out there fighting to stay alive. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM, and if you can hear me, then you've survived another day in the dark. I wish I could tell you the sun rose this morning and brought some kind of peace, but it didn't. The light came, yes, but it only revealed how much further the city had broken overnight. Smoke still trails upward from neighborhoods where fires never went out. Buildings stand hollow and scorched, their windows shattered, their walls painted with graffiti claiming ownership block by block. People are marking territory now, spray painting signs over doorways, setting up barricades out of ruined cars. Chicago doesn't feel like a city anymore. It feels like a battlefield carved into little fiefdoms. I spent most of the morning near the window, watching the street below. A group of teenagers, barely more than kids, moved together with baseball bats and metal pipes. They weren't looting stores anymore. There's nothing left in them. They were going door to door, demanding what little the families inside still had. I saw them drag a man out onto the sidewalk, slap him until he gave up his keys, and then march inside. The family came out later with nothing but blankets, eyes empty. That's the kind of order that rules now. No badge, no uniform, just whoever's strongest and willing to be cruelest. I caught a faint broadcast on shortwave around noon. A woman's voice this time, distant but steady. She said she was in Minneapolis, that the city was dark just like ours, and that government shelters were overwhelmed in the first 24 hours. Her last words before the signal fell into static were, "Stay away from official zones. They can't protect you." I don't know if she was right, but the way her voice broke made me believe her. I can't stop thinking about the chain of supply that kept us alive without us realizing it. Trucks of grain from the plains, meat from the stockyards, fuel from the refineries, all of it stopped dead in the same breath. The trains, too, stranded on the tracks like rusted monuments. I saw one on the western edge of the city before the roads became too dangerous. Dozens of cars full of food, sitting silent, locked tight. People swarmed around it, pounding on the metal like desperate animals. None of them had the tools to break in, and even if they did, they'd fight to the death over the first crate. That's what desperation looks like when the hunger digs deep enough. There are whispers, only whispers, about the military moving through the countryside. Not here, not in the city, but further west. Convoys of vehicles that somehow survived, engines shielded or rebuilt, running on stored fuel. Some say they're evacuating people. Others say they're clearing anyone who gets in their way. No one knows for sure. The only thing everyone agrees on is that they're not coming to rescue Chicago. Whatever plan there is, if there even is one, doesn't include us. Every hour I spend in here, I think about leaving, about walking south with what little I can carry, following the interstate until my legs give out. But then I remember the stories of mobs stripping travelers bare, of whole families vanishing on the roads. Out there, alone, I'd be nothing but prey. In here, with a door I can still lock and a mic that still works, I'm at least something more. I can speak. I can be heard. That's worth something, isn't it? If you're listening, I'll say it again. Boil your water. Guard your food. Don't flash a light at night unless you're ready to fight for it. Stay close to people you trust, and keep your head down. If you have old equipment, anything that doesn't need a circuit board to run, keep it safe. Those relics are the only things still alive in this dead age. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM. I'll keep talking as long as the generator coughs out enough breath to carry my voice. If you hear me, hold on to that. It means you're still out there, and I'm still here. That has to count for something. This is Charlie Benson on 103.2 FM. The studio feels colder than it did yesterday, though maybe it's just me running thin. I can't remember when I last slept more than an hour at a time. Every creak of this old building makes me jolt awake, and every shadow outside feels like it's waiting for me to step into it. The hum of the generator has become the only steady heartbeat I can count on, and even that is weak, coughing and rattling like it might give out for good at any second. I stepped outside earlier, just for a few minutes, and I regret it. The city smells different now, like rot mixed with smoke, like a garbage dump set on fire and left to smolder. I walked to the end of the block, and the silence was worse than the noise. Most of the shouting, the breaking glass, the gunshots from the first 2 nights have gone quiet. But quiet doesn't mean peace. It means people are conserving energy, staying hidden, waiting for a moment to strike. I saw a burned-out car in the intersection, surrounded by the remains of a barricade. Someone had tried to defend it, maybe using it as a shelter, but all that was left was ash and charred wood. The windows were painted with soot, and I didn't want to know if anyone had been inside when it went up. I caught another faint broadcast, broken, like someone was cranking a dying machine just long enough to spit words into the dark. A man said he was in Springfield, Illinois. He kept repeating that the National Guard was gone, that they folded in 24 hours. His voice cracked when he said the roads out of town were filled with people walking, thousands of them, carrying nothing but what fit in their arms. He begged for help, begged for someone to answer. And then his signal collapsed into static. That sound has haunted me all day, that plea disappearing into nothing, unanswered. The rumors are twisting faster than truth now. Some say it was China, others Russia. Some whisper about our own government pulling the trigger to test how quickly we'd collapse. And then, there are the ones who say it was the sun. That this was nature reminding us how fragile our wires and circuits really were. Maybe all of it is true. Maybe none of it is. But the effect doesn't change. The lights are out, The grid is gone, and the Midwest is choking in the dark. I've been rationing water, a few sips at a time. My jug is almost empty. Tomorrow, I'll have to risk the lake, and that terrifies me more than anything. Not the walk there, not even the idea of running into people desperate enough to kill for what I'm carrying. What scares me most is the thought of kneeling by the water, dipping my hands into it, and realizing I can't make it safe. I have a little bleach left from the janitor's closet, 2 bottles, and when that's gone, all I'll have is fire. Boiling water in a tin can like some refugee in my own city. I keep remembering a line from something my father told me years ago. Civilization is only as strong as the wires that hold it together. At the time, I thought he was exaggerating. Now, sitting in this frozen studio, I know he was right. One blast, one wave of energy through the sky, and all those wires are nothing but metal corpses. And with them went everything we thought was permanent. Medicine, food, order, safety. It's frightening how quickly it all proved to be temporary. If you're hearing this, I don't have much more to give you tonight except the truth. You're not alone in your fear. You're not the only one counting your cans, measuring your water, listening for footsteps outside your door. I'm doing it too. We all are. And maybe that's the only comfort we've got left, that we're suffering together, scattered across the dark, but still connected by voices like this. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM, still breathing into the silence, still refusing to go quiet. If you can hear me, keep holding on. Keep guarding what little you have. The lights may never come back, but as long as we can hear each other, the world isn't gone yet. This is Charlie Benson on 103.2 FM. I don't know what day it is anymore. The sun still rises, I think, though the smoke hanging over the city makes it hard to tell when morning begins or ends. The shadows all look the same now, gray and sickly, as if daylight has been diluted. My watch died with the grid, and without that tick of seconds to anchor me, the hours stretch and blur. All I have to measure time are the growls of my stomach and the dwindling sound of the generator. I saw something today I can't shake. Down on Wabash, a group of people were gathered around an old payphone, one of the few that still stood on the corner, its cord ripped out long ago. They weren't using it, of course. They were praying into it. Kneeling on the pavement, hands pressed against the steel, whispering into the receiver as if someone on the other end could hear them. Maybe it was madness. Maybe it was hope. I stood there watching, hidden in a doorway, and I realized I didn't know the difference anymore. The stories keep reaching me, floating through the static like ghosts. A broken signal out of Milwaukee said the water treatment plants there shut down within the first day, leaving people to drink from rivers and ponds. Cholera, dysentery, words we used to read about in history books, are being spoken again. Another voice from Iowa, so faint I could barely catch it, said armed groups had already seized farmland, forcing families to work the fields in exchange for scraps of corn. That's how fast it's changing. In less than a week, the world has spun backward into something cruel and raw, like we've been stripped of a century in the blink of an eye. I've been thinking about the silence of the government. Before all this, you couldn't escape their words. Press briefings, bulletins, alerts, chatter on every screen. Now there's nothing. No instructions, no promises. Just a looping machine voice telling us to shelter in place. I don't think anyone's coming to save the Midwest. I think the decision was made, in some bunker, to let this place burn out while the coasts hold on. We've been cut loose, abandoned to our own devices. The food I've got left is laughable. Half a pack of crackers and a tin of peanuts I found buried in a drawer. I chew slowly, trying to make every bite last. Hunger sharpens everything. It makes the smallest sound outside feel like a threat, makes every passing shadow look like someone coming to take what little I have. It gnaws at patience, at reason. If this keeps up, hunger will do what the blast started. It will finish tearing the city apart. But I've also seen something else. Last night, just before I came back to the studio, I saw a small fire in the courtyard of an apartment block. Families were sitting around it, sharing what they had. A woman passed around a dented pot of rice, giving more to the children than to herself. An older man showed others how to purify water using a cloth and a bottle, teaching by gesture when his voice broke. For a moment, they looked less like survivors and more like a community. It was fragile, yes, but it was real. And that image keeps me from sinking too deep into despair. If you can hear this, I want you to hold on to that thought. There are still people out there willing to share, to teach, to protect. Not everyone has turned savage, not yet. Find those people. Stay close to them. Because this world we're in now, it won't be survived alone. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM. Still here, still speaking. As long as this signal makes it to someone, anywhere, it means we haven't been silenced yet. Guard your water, ration your food, and look for the ones who still remember what it means to be human. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM. I keep telling myself I'll only stay on the air until the generator gives out, but each time it sputters back to life, I feel like it's daring me to keep talking, to keep a voice alive in this silence. The air in here is stale, metallic, like breathing through an old pipe, and the walls feel closer every day. Outside, the city is sinking further into something unrecognizable. I looked down from the studio window this morning and saw a street market, if you can even call it that. People had spread blankets across the cracked pavement, laying out whatever scraps they'd scavenged. Cans without labels, packets of ramen crushed and stale, lighters that barely sparked. There were no prices anymore, only trades. One man swapped a bottle of aspirin for half a loaf of bread. Another offered his leather boots for a jug of water. It struck me then how quickly paper money lost its weight. Bills were blowing around the street like litter, worthless now that they couldn't buy anything real. A kid even stuffed a wad of 20s into a crack in the wall, using it to block the wind. That's what money is now. Trash to burn, or a tool to plug a hole. I caught a faint voice last night, riding the shortwave static. A woman said she was in Rockford, Illinois. She said gangs had taken over the main bridge and were demanding tolls of food or fuel to cross. She begged anyone listening to stay away from highways, that the open road wasn't freedom anymore. It was a trap. Her words ended suddenly, mid-sentence, and I don't know if her transmitter died or if something worse happened. Either way, it chilled me. Highways used to mean escape. Now they mean ambush. I keep replaying the moment of the blast in my mind, as if I'll notice something new if I think hard enough. There wasn't light, not like an explosion, just an invisible punch that knocked every circuit out of existence. 1 second, the city was buzzing with life. The next, it was a carcass. What still stuns me is how quiet it was. No roar, no tremor, just the sudden absence of everything we relied on. Sometimes I wonder if the silence is the real weapon. I haven't eaten since yesterday morning. The crackers are gone, the peanuts are gone, and my stomach aches with a dull, constant pull. I'm saving the last of my water until I can risk the lake tomorrow. Hunger makes the air feel heavier, makes thoughts sluggish, but it also sharpens the edge of fear. I know there are people out there watching, waiting for anyone who looks weak enough to rob. Survival has become a predator's game, and we're all prey the moment we step outside. Still, in the dark, I remember something I saw yesterday. A group of neighbors in the building across from me had hung lanterns, real flame lanterns, across their balcony. They were sitting together, passing a jug of water and bread among themselves. They weren't fighting. They weren't panicked. They were simply enduring. And I realized that maybe survival isn't just about food and water. It's about the will to sit together in the dark and not let it take us completely. If you're hearing this, I don't have miracles to offer you. I can't bring the lights back or fill your cupboards. But I can remind you that someone is still speaking. And that means someone is still listening. If you're out there, keep moving cautiously. Guard what little you have, and remember that the human voice is still alive, even in this broken city. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM, clinging to the last hum of power, reminding you, you're not gone yet, and neither am I. This is Charlie Benson on 103.2 FM. The generator coughed for nearly a full minute before it steadied again, and for a moment I thought this might be the end of the line. I keep a jerry can in the corner, but it's almost empty now. Each time I pour a little more in, I wonder if I should be saving it for later instead of wasting it on this voice. But then I remind myself, without this signal, I'd be nothing more than another body hidden in a dark room. Talking keeps me alive. Maybe listening keeps you alive too. The city sounds stranger with each passing night. No sirens, no engines, just this eerie chorus of things that don't belong together. Dogs barking in the distance, windows breaking, fires crackling where buildings burn slow. Last night I heard a church bell ringing over and over, though I doubt it was for worship. Maybe someone thought ringing it would bring help. Maybe it was a warning, or maybe it was just madness echoing through empty streets. I walked a little further today, further than I should have, down to the river. The water looked black under the haze, moving sluggishly. People were lined along the banks with buckets, pots, even old paint cans, hauling whatever they could. Nobody spoke. Nobody smiled. They just filled their containers and left as quickly as they came. I boiled what I brought back over a small flame in a coffee tin, and it tasted metallic, bitter, but it was water all the same. My throat doesn't care what it tastes like. It only cares that it isn't dry anymore. On the way back, I saw something that's been gnawing at me. A hospital, one of the big ones, stood silent and dark, its doors chained shut. Outside, a line of people stretched down the street, families clutching children, the sick leaning on each other. They weren't waiting to get in anymore. They were just staying there, as if the sight of that building, even dead, gave them something to believe in. I don't know how long they'll last out there. No doctors, no lights, no medicine, just walls that used to mean salvation. I picked up fragments of another broadcast this afternoon, but it was faint and broken. Someone claimed to be near Omaha. He said, "The grid's gone for half the country. No recovery, no restart." He repeated it twice, then the signal dissolved. Half the country. If that's true, then this isn't just the Midwest bleeding. It's a wound running from one coast toward the other. Maybe the whole map is going dark, one region at a time. Hunger is worse than fear now. It creeps into every thought, makes me weaker by the hour. The vending machine scraps are gone. I caught myself staring at an old mousetrap in the corner, wondering if I'd be desperate enough to set it. That's where my mind goes when the ache in my stomach won't quiet. I hate that thought. But I know others out there have already crossed lines they never imagined. Still, there are glimpses of something human left. A little girl with a braid walked past the station window earlier, holding her mother's hand. She was singing softly, a tune I didn't recognize. Her mother looked hollow, eyes sunk deep, but she let the girl sing without stopping her. It struck me that even in all this ruin, a child still had a song. And if a child can sing in this, maybe the rest of us can still find reasons to stay. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM. The lights are gone. The world is falling apart, one block at a time. But if you hear me, you're still here. And that means there's still a chance. Guard your water, guard your food, guard your hope. Because hope is the last thing that can be stolen. And once it's gone, the dark wins. This is Charlie Benson on 103.2 FM. The city feels like it's holding its breath tonight. The fires aren't as bright as they were 2 days ago, and the shouts in the streets have thinned to murmurs and footsteps. It's not calm, not really. It's something worse. It's the pause before desperation explodes again, when hunger and fear push people past the edge of waiting. You can sense it in the way folks move now, slower, heads down, not wasting energy unless it's to grab something they can't live without. I made the mistake of stepping out again this afternoon, just to stretch my legs and feel the cold air on my face. I walked past what used to be a small grocery on State Street. The windows were gone, metal shelves stripped bare, the aisles littered with wrappers and broken glass. A man was standing inside, holding a piece of paper in his hands. I thought he was looting at first, but when I got closer, I realized he wasn't taking anything. He was staring at the old store receipts scattered across the floor. Just staring, as if he couldn't believe those pieces of paper used to mean something. He looked up at me once, and his eyes were so hollow I couldn't bear to stay. I turned and walked away, but his face is stuck in my head. I caught another voice on the shortwave earlier, faint but clear enough to make out pieces. A woman said she was outside Toledo. She claimed the highways were jammed with cars, not moving, just abandoned, stretching for miles. She said families had set up tents between the lanes, cooking what little they had over open fires. She swore the military had passed by once, armored vehicles that didn't stop, didn't even slow down, just pushed through the crowd. Her last words before the signal cut were, "Don't wait for them. They're not coming." And then nothing but static. I've been thinking about the people who vanished when the grid went down, the ones who were mid-flight, mid-surgery, mid-commute. All those lives cut loose in an instant, gone without warning. Some part of me keeps expecting the government to admit it, to acknowledge the scale of this, but there's still only silence. Just that same mechanical loop. EMP confirmed. Shelter in place. Words that don't mean anything anymore, repeated like a cruel joke. The hunger in my gut is sharp now, sharper than yesterday. I boiled water from the lake in a tin, sipped it slow, but it doesn't fill the ache. My head feels light, my body heavy, and every noise outside makes me flinch. I caught myself thinking about the people camped outside the hospital again, huddled against the walls like they're waiting for a miracle that isn't coming. And I wondered if they'd share, if they'd turn on one another, or if they'd just keep waiting until waiting itself killed them. Still, I saw one thing that gave me pause. A group of neighbors dragged an old wood stove into the middle of their courtyard. They broke apart furniture to feed it, and when it glowed hot, They boiled a pot of soup from what looked like beans and carrots. They passed it around with tin cups, making sure the kids ate first. I watched from a distance, my mouth watering, but more than the hunger, I felt something else, something like envy. Not for the food, but for the fact that they still had each other. If you're hearing me, I'll tell you this much. Don't wander alone. Don't trust every voice you hear on the radio. And don't wait for someone in a uniform to show up with salvation. They won't. We're the only safety we've got now. Share if you can. Fight if you must. And above all, endure. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM, clinging to the last breath of this generator. If you're listening, you're still alive, and that means this world hasn't swallowed us whole. Not yet. This is Charlie Benson on 103.2 FM. The night presses heavier tonight, like the city itself has given up trying to keep the dark out. No hum of transformers, no flicker of light on the horizon, just a black void stretching from one end of Chicago to the other. Every now and then I hear the echo of a gunshot roll across the rooftops, and then silence returns, even deeper than before. It makes you wonder who fired it, and whether they're still standing afterward. I spent part of today just listening, trying to map out the city by sound. From the west, I heard the faint clang of metal, like someone hammering pipe against pipe. Maybe it was a signal. Maybe it was just desperation spilling into noise. From the north came a low roar, not fire, but voices chanting together, too far away for me to catch the words. It could have been a mob or a prayer. Hard to tell the difference now. The south side was quieter, which scares me most. Quiet in this world usually means people are hiding or dying, and I'm not sure which is worse. I heard another broken broadcast around midday. A man's voice this time, strained and crackling through static. He said he was outside St. Louis. His words came in pieces. Bridge collapsed. Water plant offline. Cholera spreading. He repeated, "Don't drink from the river," 3 times before the signal vanished. I don't know if he was warning us or begging us not to make the same mistake. Either way, it's one more piece of truth buried in all this noise. Hunger claws deeper now. My stomach is tight and hollow, and I've started dreaming about food whenever I close my eyes. Thick bread, hot stew, things I haven't tasted in days. The hunger changes you. It makes the air seem heavier, makes your thoughts short and sharp, like your mind can't stretch beyond the next bite. I boiled another tin of water today, forcing myself to drink it slowly just to trick my body into feeling full. It didn't work. Walking back from the river, I passed a group sitting around a fire barrel. They were quiet, just staring into the flames, faces drawn and hollow. One man was strumming a guitar with only 3 strings left, the sound weak and broken, but still music. The others didn't sing, didn't even speak, but they listened. That fragile sound in the dark cut through the silence like nothing else I've heard in days. It reminded me that even here, even now, we're still human enough to make music. But for every moment like that, there's a shadow waiting. I heard footsteps following me for 2 blocks, heavy, deliberate, always just out of sight. I didn't run, but my heart pounded with every step. When I finally slipped into the station and locked the door, the footsteps stopped. I stood there in the dark, listening, waiting. But whoever it was never came closer. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was a warning, or maybe it was someone waiting for me to leave again. Out here, you don't get second chances if you misjudge. If you're hearing me, remember this. The city isn't safe. Not the stores, not the roads, not the places we used to trust. The only safety is what you make with your own hands, what you guard with your own strength, and who you choose to stand beside you. Trust is rare now, rarer than food, rarer than water. Hold on to it carefully. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM, burning the last of this fuel to keep a voice alive in the dark. If you're still out there, keep breathing, keep guarding, keep moving. We're not gone yet, even if the world wants us to be. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM. The night has bled into another day, but you wouldn't know it by looking outside. The smoke still hangs low, blotting out the horizon, turning the sun into nothing more than a faint orange smear. Chicago feels like it's been buried under a shroud, a city trapped between fire and silence. Every time I lean against this window and look out, I wonder if the world beyond the skyline looks the same, or if there even is a world left beyond it. I wandered further today, further than I should have. Hunger drove me. The ache in my stomach gnaws so hard, it feels like it's consuming me from the inside out. I found myself on an empty stretch of Michigan Avenue. Storefronts gutted, glass crunching under my boots, the wind pushing trash in circles. I stepped into an old cafe, hoping against hope something might have been left behind. The smell hit me first, sour milk, rotten bread. I picked through cupboards with shaking hands and came away with nothing but a packet of sugar and a dented can of tomatoes. And yet I felt victorious, like I'd discovered treasure. That's what this world has become. Sugar and an old can as a feast worth risking your life for. On my way back, I saw the first real fight I couldn't walk away from. Two men, filthy and desperate, were clawing at each other over a bag of rice. Their faces weren't human anymore. They were masks stretched thin by hunger, eyes wild, hands clawing like animals. One of them had a knife. I froze in the doorway, watched as steel flashed, and then one man stumbled back, clutching his stomach. The other snatched the bag and ran, leaving him in the street. I should have helped. I should have done something. But I didn't. I turned and walked away, listening to his moans fade into the smoke. That sound is going to stay with me. I know it. Maybe it's cowardice. Maybe it's survival. Out here, it's hard to tell the difference. I caught pieces of another broadcast tonight. A man, his voice ragged, said he was outside Kansas City. He kept saying, "The grid is dead. This isn't repair. This is permanent." He spoke of whole neighborhoods marching out of the city, carrying makeshift banners, declaring themselves tribes. He said the highways are clogged with bonfires, tolls demanded by anyone with a gun. He ended with, "We've been pushed back 100 years in a week." Then the signal broke, and I sat here with his words stuck in my chest. Water's worse than food. My jug is almost empty again. The lake feels further every day, more dangerous with every trip. People guard it now, circling the banks with sharpened sticks, barking at anyone who comes too close. They call themselves keepers of the water, as if it belongs to them alone. I had to wait until night to fill a tin, boiling it quickly over my little flame before retreating here. My hands shook the whole time. Not from fear, but from weakness, from hunger. And yet, in all this collapse, I saw a fragment of something worth remembering. A woman walking down the street with her arms full of bread loaves, burnt and misshapen, but real. She was giving them out, one at a time, pressing them into the hands of children who came running. She smiled, even as she kept nothing for herself. It was the only smile I've seen in days, and it felt like a spark in the dark. If you're hearing me, know this. Survival is ugly, but it doesn't mean we have to forget we're human. If you have more than you need, give a little. If you have nothing, protect your dignity like it's food. Don't let this world strip everything from you. This is Charlie Benson, 103.2 FM, the voice still dragging itself out of the silence. The dark wants us broken, wants us silent. Don't give it that satisfaction. Keep going, keep breathing, keep human.